The frozen breath. Some breaths don't just fog the air, they freeze your secrets, and when they spread, your lies exhale a form. Mara Vale woke to the chill at 2:37 a.m. A sharp, icy sting in her lungs piercing the silence of her Arctic outpost studio. The studio, a prefab shelter anchored in the snow-swept tundra of the Canadian Arctic, was her creative sanctuary, filled with cameras, monitors, and tattered scripts for her YouTube channel, Frosts of Dread, where she spun fictional thrillers and probed haunted chills for 255,000 subscribers. She flicked on the desk lamp, its light fracturing on the frost-coated walls, and saw it. Her breath crystallizing in the air, forming a sigil that pulsed like a crack in ice. It had no source, hadn't been there when she'd collapsed after editing a video about cursed winters. The shelter was locked, the windows sealed, the tundra's howl faint outside. Mara's heart raced as she exhaled again, the sigil sharpening, whispering a mystery she'd buried. Mara, you betrayed him. She forced a laugh, a frail shield against the cold gripping her chest, but the sound was swallowed by the frost. She was a storyteller, her channel built on crafting dread, not falling for it. Yet this was too vivid, too personal. Her phone buzzed on the console, a notification from no sender. Breathe it now. The air grew heavier, thick with a scent like frostbite and something acrid, like blood. Mara wasn't reckless. She'd filmed in haunted glaciers, narrated tales of forbidden chills for her series Iced Nightmares. But this was intimate, the frost too alive, its patterns crawling across the walls like veins. The sigil pulsed, the frost forming a key, silver and etched with a snowflake pattern shimmering in the air. The whisper named it. You broke his promise. Mara's stomach twisted. The key was familiar. Her friend Ryan Holt had carried one like it, a token from their film school pact to always share their dreams. Ryan had died 4 years ago in a polar ice collapse Mara had survived. They'd been filming a high-risk shoot for her channel. Ryan warning about the thinning ice. Mara pushing for a dramatic scene under the aurora. The ice cracked, and Mara escaped, telling rescuers she'd tried to save Ryan, but she'd fled, too scared to dive into the crevasse for him. The whisper sharpened, Ryan's voice now low and accusing. You stole my light. Mara's laptop flared, playing footage she hadn't shot. The ice field, Ryan falling, his key glinting, a shadow stirring in the snow. The frost spread, and the key appeared on the console, its snowflake glowing, cold as a pulse. Her phone flickered, showing a live feed of the shelter, filmed from an impossible angle above, her face pale, the frost glowing like a shroud. She looked up. No camera, just the insulated ceiling. The feed shifted, showing Ryan behind her, gray and frozen, his key gleaming. Mara spun, but the shelter was empty, the whisper in her breath. Hold it. Her hands trembled, guilt surging like a blizzard. She hadn't just survived. She'd lied, claiming Ryan ignored her warnings, hiding her ambition. She'd built Frosts of Dread on stories that erased his vision, profiting from his death as her subscriber count soared. The frost deepened, naming her sins. Mara laughing on the ice, Ryan's screams swallowed by the crevasse. She blasted the heater, melting the frost, but it iced over, colder, the key glowing brighter, the whisper louder. You gave him to them. A figure exhaled in the shadows, its form blurred, its breath crystallizing in sync. The shelter shook, the walls groaning, a door forming where her camera tripod stood, its frame etched with snowflakes. It wasn't in the shelter's layout, wasn't real. Mara clutched the key, its metal searing her palm with cold, and the door swung open, revealing a staircase descending into darkness. The whisper roared, "Find him." She didn't want to go. Every instinct screamed to run, but the key pulsed, the frost's glow searing her mind. She grabbed her flashlight, its beam trembling, and stepped onto the stairs, the door slamming shut. The staircase was stone, its walls carved with snowflakes flickering with the key's light. The air was frigid, smelling of ice and blood, like the crevasse's depths. The flashlight caught Ryan's face in the walls, his eyes accusing, his key glowing. Mara's chest ached, tears freezing on her cheeks. She hadn't meant to let Ryan die, hadn't meant to lie, but the truth was worse. She'd craved fame, Ryan's caution a burden she'd shed. The stairs spiraled deeper, the walls closing in, the air growing heavier. She stumbled, the flashlight skittering across the stone, its beam catching carvings of their film school days. Mara and Ryan in the editing suite, splicing footage, laughing over cheap coffee, their keys glinting in sync. The memory stung, a reminder of the pact she'd broken, the trust she'd traded for views. The stairs ended at a chamber, vast and shadowed, its ceiling lost in darkness. At its center stood a plinth, the key resting on it, glowing brighter, the frost swirling around it. Ryan's voice echoed, "You traded me." Mara approached, her legs heavy, the whisper pounding in her skull. She reached for the key, and the chamber shook, the walls morphing into the ice field, its crevasse yawning, cold biting the air. The flashlight died, the key's glow the only light. The figure emerged, not Ryan but Mara herself, her face pale, her breath exhaling frost. "You gave me to them," the figure said, its voice her own, layered with something ancient, ravenous. Mara backed away, the key burning with cold, naming her sins, abandoning Ryan, stealing his shots, running from guilt. A memory surged, the pact, Mara and Ryan vowing to share their art, sealed with the key. Mara had broken it, whispering to the dark she'd trade anything for a viral hit. The ice closed in, the figure's hands cold, pulling Mara into the frost. The key glowed, its snowflake rewriting her life, her channel erased, her name forgotten, her shelter gone. She fought, her screams drowned by the whisper, but the frost was endless. She woke in the ice field's ruins, dawn breaking over shattered snow. Her shelter was gone, her phone blank, the key cold in her hand, the snowflake etched on her skin. Footprints, small and frosted, led into the fog. Mara followed and found a lens, half buried, its glass reflecting her face, glowing with guilt. A whisper followed, her own voice. "You're theirs." Ryan's voice lingered inside her, a breath she'd never thaw. Morning came, and her studio was empty, her digital footprint wiped. The police found a burn mark in the ruins, shaped like a snowflake. Locals whispered of a woman in the fog holding a key, waiting for someone to breathe it. Mara's neighbor heard crackling at night, a frost humming in an empty shelter. Somewhere in a place of ice and shadow, Mara stands, the key in her hand, her breath freezing, whispering her failures. Her own figure watches, its smile eternal, its voice a constant hum. The worst part, the thing that keeps her trapped, is the truth she'll never know. The figure wasn't Ryan's, it was Mara's, chilled by her lies, a debt she'd never repay. Would you breathe it? Share if you dare, and tag a friend who'd face the frost. Follow for more stories that chill.